just get a Steam Deck. Now, sadly, the question kind of gets answered more like, if you want a handheld device, why would you get a Steam Deck? And the reason for that is that recently Valve just announced some price increases onto the Steam Deck versions. The two versions they have right now are the 512 gigabyte and the 1 terabyte OLED versions. And they both went for $549 and $649 respectively. But it's pretty crazy, the price increases. They went up to $789 and $949 for both the 512 and the 1 terabyte version. The issue is that this used to be the best value device. It's not super powerful, but it gets the job done with most games. The UX, it takes a bit at first to understand SteamOS if you want to use it outside of like big picture mode. But after that, it's pretty seamless and pretty good to use for, like an easy handheld device. And again, the biggest thing of all was you could get all of this. You could be able to play like your entire backlog, a bunch of emulated games, a bunch of indie games for a very good budget device. And now if you want a Steam Deck, you're now looking at like a bunch of other devices that are also in the same price bracket. You have other handhelds that were getting released from the time of, after the Steam Deck being released to now. Like, for example, here now you have the ROG Xbox Ally, which this base version has specs comparable to the Steam Deck. And you also have the ROG Xbox Ally X. I'm bringing this one up first because now if you want the best all-rounder that's new, this is probably the best one to get because this one is the most recently released and it has pretty good specs. It's just that at the time it came out, you saw this price and you thought $1,000 for a handheld, that's too much, I'm just gonna go get a Steam Deck. But now that the Steam Deck costs the same amount almost for the 1 terabyte one, why would I bother getting that one when I can get this? If you're looking for something new, I think that this actually is now like the best premium purchase. Like here you can see also some of the Lenovo Legion Go's. Yes, there's like the more expensive one, like for example this one is still pretty crazy, but you can also look at some of the older ones that are similarly priced. The issue with the Steam Deck price increase is this price increase doesn't just put it to compete with the newer devices. All the other devices that were released after the Steam Deck that were just way too expensive. So now if you want a handheld, actually, like you can also take a look at some of these other ones. And if you wanted something that's like same parity, like yeah, you can start looking at some of these older devices that are also a bit more powerful. It's just that the main disadvantage of them was the price and the battery life. But yeah, Jesus, some of these prices are crazy, like $1,700, $1,500, yeah, that $2,000. And if you're wanting to play like just emulated games, there's other devices out there other than like the big players. There's stuff like AYN, like for example the Thor, which personally to me looks pretty cool. It's basically like an upgraded Nintendo DS. And you can also look at like used products because now that the price increased, it's not just what's the newest devices out there that it has to compete with, but even the older ones. Like for example, the Z1 Extreme version of the ROG Ally, this is the older version before the ROG Xbox Ally X. You can even get it at Best Buy, for example, like $550. But where does this leave the Steam Deck? This leaves it in a very awkward spot. Now it's similar to kind of like the Switch in a way, where people always wanted to compare like getting a Steam Deck versus a Switch. You wanted to play like your Switch collection, or you wanted to play like some exclusives, then really like you should just be getting a Switch. If you wanted to play, like your whole PC library or just, general emulated games, this was probably the one that you would want to get instead. Now it's a similar thing, I would say, of like, do you want SteamOS or the touchpad? Really, that's all you're getting here. You're getting like integrated SteamOS, like built in right away, or the touchpads, like if you play games like Civ, where maybe the touchpads are a bit more useful, this is something you still may want to look into. But if you're looking to just play like pretty heavy games, pound for pound, this is not it. And it sucks too. I'm not saying like this is a bad device in any way. Like this thing is amazing. I'm still using the LCD version and personally I'm still more than satisfied with it. So this leaves it in a very awkward spot now of like, why would you purchase one when there's a bunch of other devices that you can get that are probably better? I know like prices are up everywhere, but if there was one company that I thought would be able to like ride it out and not really need to increase or increase a lot, it was Valve. And this also kind of increases a lot of worries of, like the Steam frame, Steam machine, what's going to happen with that? Because those were also meant to be like good bang for your buck for a different niche. But now with the price increase and the Steam Deck is already topping off at like almost $1,000, you got to imagine what's the price going to be of the Steam machine. And with the kind of specs that they already laid out for it, it wasn't really going to be like a super powerful thing either compared to like gaming laptops, gaming PCs, value-wise consoles, like, a PlayStation. But yeah, this was more just me talking about what's going on here. Let me know your thoughts below. Peace.